How's everybody doing? This is a quick video on how some Excel basics first. I'm going to go through some Excel basics first, and then I'm going to go into what is the expectation of the submission of the Excel for the laboratory, and then the submission for and then the graphing that needs to be done within Excel. Realize this: I am working on a Mac. I'm working on an Apple laptop. That means that some of the buttons that you're going to see on this versus the PC are going to be slightly different, but all of the same capabilities in Excel you will find. So just realize that exactly where I click something may not be exactly the same. So let's take a look at Excel. When you get into Excel and open a blank worksheet or workbook, you see that you should be on the Home tab to begin with, and you should have all of this stuff in the top bar. Now, for the most part, every button up here and a lot of buttons up here have a keyboard shortcut that I may talk about and also use when making the spreadsheet. So down here at the bottom where you see sheets, if you hit plus, that's how you add separate sheets into the same file so that you do not have to make a separate file each time. Okay, so this bar here where you see a FX is where you type in functions or you type in any kind of text that needs to go in the cell. So as you can see here, you type letters, the letters show up in the cell that is selected. So you want to select this cell, you want to type my name in there, then there you go. Okay. When you click on a cell and you want to wipe everything from the cell, you click on the cell and then hit delete or backspace, and that should get rid of everything in the cell. Okay. To change the font, let's say you want to change what the font looks like for all of the data we're about to input, you need to drag over all of these cells you're going to use by holding down, left click, and dragging with the mouse, and that will allow you to select as many cells as you want to. Okay, so you click on a cell, you put it in the corner, make sure that this shows up as a black plus, and then you can drag. Sorry, you want to click in the middle of the cell, excuse me, and drag to select multiples. You want to drag with the black for a different purpose. I'll show you what that is here in a second. All right. Let's say we want to change the font to Times New Roman. I go up here. I look for Times New Roman, or I can search for Times New Roman. I can just type it in here. Times 12. Let's say I want to make this a little bit larger. Let's make it times 20. And now I have times 20 here. So let's say I wanted to title this Introduction to Glassware. Now if you notice, this is the text I put in here is longer than the cell that I put it in. Okay, so there are a couple different things that you can do to fix this, and these are some Excel basics. One thing you can do is go here and double click when you see this sign pop up, and that will open your cell up to where it perfectly fits the wording that you inserted. Another way to do this is to click and drag. You can click and drag to wherever you would like. Now, you also have the option to merge cells. Let's say you don't want to change the size of A, B, C, or D cells, but you want this to stay where it is. You can merge the cells by dragging all of them and then going to click on this merge option. What that does is that makes all these 4 cells in this row into one cell, and that allows you to keep a title and not change your sizes. Okay. Let's say that you have a lot. Let's say you wanted to put some names in here of your lab members. So we say Matthew Bryant, and we say Max Planck, and Heisenberg. All right, now notice that even though we merged this cell, we still can't see everything in the cell. So there's also the ability to do what's called wrap text, and if you wrap the text, it essentially will create 2 lines within the cell, and you say wrap text, and then if you increase the size, then you see that now we have this here. So if you need to wrap the text, you hit wrap. These four cells are merged, and now we can see everything. That's just an example of what you can do with Excel. All right, let's say you wanted to delete a cell. Let's say you ended up putting in some stuff in this, and you don't want to go and delete every single piece of information you put in here. You can delete the entire column by clicking on that column, right clicking, and going to delete. When you hit delete, everything goes, disappears. Let's say you have some numbers that you need to input in, 9.0000, but you need it to say 9.0000, and you're wondering what happened to your numbers. That is where these buttons come into play right here. The decimal buttons to get you all your zeros back are here, or to get you less zeros are here. So this is where your significant figures come into play. How many significant figures are you using? How many do you need? And if you want to change that for an entire column, then you go to this column and you click this so that you have the right number of decimal places. Sorry. So you need to do that per cell, and then we can drag the cell to make sure that all of these have the exact same level of significance. Right? You see, I typed in 7.999, but it rounded it up to 4 significant figures. So that's what happens here. So if we want to delete this cell, we go in, right click, delete. If we want to delete that, we go in and hit delete on the keyboard. Okay, so there are two things that we need to do as far as data calculation that you need to show me in this particular spreadsheet, and you need to show me the average for the two pieces of glassware we used. So for the 25 milliliter beaker here, notice we have again another situation where it's longer than the box. So let's just merge these cells. 25 milliliter beaker, we can put in that we can make this bold because it can stand out. That can be done by clicking the B or clicking Control B. And we can say that we measured this a total of 3 times. So we can call this trial 1, trial 2, and trial 3. Now, what's beautiful about Excel is Excel will actually allow you to, instead of having to type these each time, it'll allow you to drag the trend that you have made and drag it and fill our cells in to where you don't have to type this every time, right? So again, we could show this. We can show this as number 1, number 2, number 3. Sorry, number 3. And we can drag these if we would like, putting our mouse right here at the corner, making sure that we see a black plus, and drag this down, and we get every number that we want. So it doesn't matter, as long as Excel can pick up a pattern, it will fill in it for you. All right. So I'm using some sample data from a 25 milliliter beaker. I'm going to insert another row here. Notice I right click insert. This is going to be experiment number, and then this is going to be mass. And I always put the units wherever I see mass. Notice we have another situation where mass is too big, so I double click the B, make sure that it fits, and now we have experiment number and mass. I don't necessarily need these bolded. So here I'm going to input my mass in grams, and my mass in grams is 47.38, 47.39, and 47.39. Okay, so for these we have 3 masses, and we have been asked to calculate the average and the standard deviation for our glassware, and that will also give us our uncertainty. So we do that. by labeling a cell for average, and you can do this with bold. You can type in average. Normally you'll see me write AVG, and then type in one for standard deviation. These two are considered functions. So to input a function, you always have to start with the equal sign, and the equal sign will give you the ability to start a mathematical function. You need to know the name of the function, and in this case, average will give you all of these averages. The most basic one is all you need. You want to click on that. Then it gives you an opportunity to select the data that you want to average, and to select the data you want to average, you click and drag these three cells, and then you hit enter, and you are done. And there is your average to the proper number of significant figures. Okay. The standard deviation is equal to another function, that's standard dev. P is the best one to use, and we drag these three as well. And here is your standard deviation as it pertains to the data that you have collected. And then bold, your uncertainty is the same as your standard deviation. So you can retype that number if you need to, 0.005. Remember, your average has units of grams as well, and you can put that here if you want to keep it simple. All right, you must do the same thing for the small beaker. So let's say, sorry, this is 25 milliliter cylinder, let's say. And we can merge these. All right, now let's say we're going to go for the whatever size beaker you used, and we're going to do the same thing. Trial 1, trial 2, trial 3, and then we're going to input in here 28.83, 28.86, and 28.98. We need to insert, because I forgot my labels. Experiment, mass. We don't want this bold, so we can go up here and click off the bold. And now we want to copy these. You can do copy paste, and then we want to input average as a function and select these cells. Standard deviation equals standard dev, and these three. And we see that our standard deviation is a little higher for this one because we see more differentiation in this number. All right, that's all that I was asking you for the masses. Okay, let's move on, let's say, to another sheet within this. So we can call this averages, and then we can move on to this sheet to show temperature. This is our temperature graph. All right, we can go back, we can increase the size of this, we can change this to times like I did, we can increase this to 20, and then we need to we can call this temperature plot. How you can title it however you want to. Now the data that we're taking is already in our manual, and it gives us degrees as a title. We have two columns of data. We have Celsius and we have Fahrenheit. We can get this where we need to be and merge these cells, and we can now, if you want to, let's say, merge these cells and then put degrees in the center, there you go. Now Celsius, remember, is in units of C, and then Fahrenheit is in units of F. All right, and then we want to input in the numbers that are on the plot, that are already given to us. 22, 32, 5, 22, 32, 51, 74, 100. And Fahrenheit, we have 38, 67.3, 95.5, 120.0, 165.2, and 205.6. All right. So what they want is a correlated y equals mx plus b, where the slope of this is going to be what you need. So the best thing to do is to select, using the drag function I just told you about, select all of your data. Then you want to go to insert if you're on a PC, but in the Mac case you're going to go to charts and you need to find the scatter plot. Once you find the scatter plot, then you want to go into and pick a marked scatter. You do not want the line to already be associated with your graph. Once you click the marked scatter, you are going to get a graph. I would suggest that you maximize the graph so that it's easier to work with. And there are a couple things that you need to do to get what you need. And one of them is to pick a quick chart layout. Generally speaking, the first one is the best one. And now you have ability to title the y-axis and title the x-axis, right? So your y-axis in this case is going to be your Fahrenheit. Your y is your Fahrenheit. We can tell this because this point is above 200. Your x is your Celsius. So if the y-axis is Fahrenheit, we need to label that Fahrenheit, and then we need to show its units. The title of this, if you double click on the graph, you could just title this temperature. And then on the bottom, this can be Celsius. All right, so now you have a graph, but you're not done because you need to change this legend. And you can change this legend by right clicking and click format data series. Sorry, you can right click and format text. You should, I'm trying to remember how, excuse me real quick, on the Mac to change this. Select data is what you're going to change, and you can change the name here to temperature. And that will give you the label that you want. So see, now I have this labeled as temperature. Okay. So now that my graph is correct, we see the linear correlation that we're looking for. To get the equation of a straight line and the line of best fit, you need to click on one of these scatter plot balls, or the dots, excuse me. Go into add trend line. Add trend line is going to be the same on the Mac and the PC. Right click, click add trend line, and then on the PC you're going to see this pop up on the right side. On the Mac, we want to be looking at linear regression, and then we want to talk about the options. And the options, we need to check display equation on chart and display R-squared value. Both of these options are still going to be given to you in a PC. You're going to have to scroll down in the insert and format trend line. So once you hit OK, you notice you now have the equation of a straight line, but you also have it's too small. So if you click on this and go back to home and go up here, you can change the font size, make it larger so that you can see it. And this is what I expect from you, to have a R-squared value and a graph associated with temperature. And that's going to be it. If you have any more questions, I'm going to extend the deadline for the graphing and charts. If you have any more questions, feel free to send me an email or ask me during office hours, so on and so forth. All right.